My name is Kara Hiripatiagay. I work in the Pattonville School District, which is in Missouri. And our district, we have a little over 6,000 students total. We are one of the most diverse districts in the state, and we really celebrate that. It's a point of celebration for us.
That's fantastic. How long have you been with the district?
This is my 16th year with the district. I served as an assistant principal at our high school for 9 years, and I've been in my current role for 7 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Well, I know we've talked a little bit before about kind of your experience with SchooLinks. So I have just a few questions we're going to run through just to hear a little bit about your experience, and hopefully it'll help some other districts across the state learn a little bit from you and how you're doing things. Just to kind of start off with, I know you previously used Naviance. What kind of challenges were you facing with them that kind of prompted you to switch over to SchooLinks?
Sure. So I initially became aware of SchooLinks through our college and career counselor, who had heard of some other schools who were using it and really liked it. A lot of the features that we liked the most in Naviance were still present, but there were some opportunities for customization. There were a few features that we found just didn't completely fit our needs. The course planner didn't quite fit exactly how we did our course structures, and that was one holdup. Probably the biggest thing, though, is Missouri requires an ICAP, which is a career planning tool that every student needs to complete. And we really didn't have a means for students to do that digitally. We'd been doing that really sort of on a paper pencil planning, counselor by counselor, which while I think was doing a trick, it's not really the way we wanted to do it. We wanted to make it more interactive, a place where students really had more direct control and had their hands on it as well. And it really made sense to be a part of our college and career planning process. And we'd use Naviance for that purpose. We realized that SchooLinks could really meet both purposes. We could use our college and career planning needs. We could have that met, as well as have the ICAP in the system. So that was a win for us.
That's perfect, and a good segue into that next question I have. So you mentioned the ICAP. So if you were previously doing it paper pencil, what was the transition like then to doing it into SchooLinks, and especially with kind of the requirement for the state to track that? What kind of information is included?
Right. So the ICAP asks students about their long-term goals, their post-secondary goals, both career and any additional learning, whether that's college or training or military. And then it also asks students to think about some of the various certifications or programming, some of the state opportunities that they might want to be involved in. Provides a place for them to share out a little bit more about their goals, and then a place for them to map out the courses they want to take in high school. So we start this process in eighth grade. So students in eighth grade are already thinking about what do I want to do in ninth through 12th grade. Then, of course, it advances each grade through 11th grade when students are just really looking at that final year. And so that's really what's encapsulated in an ICAP. And so our first process was to meet with someone from SchooLinks and find out how we could create that exact need in the program. There was already a place to capture courses and course choices, but we wanted a place where we could build that out along with those other indicators and have those all in one spot. And so I worked with someone from SchooLinks, and we helped devise it to match the exact needs of Missouri's ICAP. And so that was a pretty easy step. We were able to develop something that really matched the needs. From there, it was working with students and staff on the next steps of actually making that shift. Up to that point, a lot of the work had been done in the hands of the counselors. The counselor was talking to them about their goals and about their long-term course planning, which is a great piece and it's still an important part of our conversations which we're having. But we needed to make sure we got everyone onboarded and understanding how to use the product. And so we really launched mid-year last year, and we started our work with an ICAP. So that was really the introduction most people had to SchooLinks. And so I worked with the homeroom teachers at middle and high school, and we made sure we had a lot of information, some resources for them so that they could prepare to log in and learn more about the process and how to use the product. And then tools for students too, so they could lead their students through the process. So that's how we launched last spring.
Perfect. You mentioned a little bit about like the importance of that course planner tool and that integration. How has the implementation of the course planner feature been, and how has it been beneficial for your students with their academic planning?
Right. So, when you're first starting to use SchooLinks, it's a bit of a lift to begin with. I worked on getting all our courses imported because we need to make sure that it really has everything and all the information important about the courses, the course descriptions, the prerequisites, everything that students need to know as they're choosing those courses. And so, once the setup was in place, the course planner allows students to really look at those courses, see what opportunities are out there, and then plan those out year by year. At the same time, outside of SchooLinks, we had an initiative internally to try to work on better informing our students, really even as early as elementary school, in what our courses, what we offered, really at the middle school and especially at the high school. We have a lot of fantastic programming, and what we found is that occasionally we'd have students who were partway through high school, and they discover a program they didn't even know existed, which was a little heartbreaking. When I was still an assistant principal, I'd work with students. They'd say, "Hey, I think I finally know what I want to do for my career goal. I wish I could have learned more about this in high school." And the answer is you could have. We had those courses, but at that point, it's a little hard when you're already a junior to be able to fit all those courses in. So we needed to do a better job of marketing and advertising all the great programming we had at a much earlier age. And so at the same time we were implementing SchooLinks, we were also working on developing a website and some brochures with some QR codes to really link those two resources so that we could get a lot of things out in families' hands. We had some paper products that were floating around. So if someone just happens to see this brochure and they have questions, they know where to go, because people don't always stumble on things on the web. But then the website is really, really robust, and that had a lot of information about our courses and our programming, and how those pieces fit together, and how kids can earn college credit, and how they can develop their own learning experiences through extended learning opportunities, and all the other different options that we have. Our partnership with North Tech, a nearby tech school, so lots of things. Um, Being able to have those two things hand in hand helped our students better understand what options are out there by doing some work using those resources, both because they went home to families as well as with their counselors in house at middle and high school. But then also being able to then transfer that information and know, hey, these are the things I can now load in to SchooLinks as I build out my schedule. And so that process, it was a little bit of a lift at the beginning. Everybody's learning a new program. We're actually getting ready to start the process again for this year. Last year we did that a little later in the spring. This year we want to get that started sooner so we can do that before registration. Last year, like I said, it was kind of a trial run. This year we want to give it a go and really get kids get their hands a little more dirty, get them in there a little bit more, and more familiar with the product.
That's fantastic. So you've got the ICAP set up and the personalized learning tool. You've got the course planner set up and ready to go. So you mentioned that kind of the implementation aspect or the utility of it is through like homerooms or advisories. Can you share how like that homeroom or advisory has helped with school, like through SchooLinks, and help students better understand themselves and their goals a bit better?
Absolutely. So already had this. We really already had this in place before SchooLinks. We have advisory at the middle school, and we have homerooms at the high school level, in which students are, meeting with the same teacher year after year, while in middle school, and the same again, repeating with the same teacher in high school. And so they get to make a connection with that teacher, and they have various lessons throughout that time. So some of them are around college and career planning, others are around other things that take place in school, and other things you need to have meetings and do learning around. But part of that time is for our college and career work. And so even when we had Naviance, we used that time in the same way. We found that the tools within SchooLinks, we found so far they're resonating with kids a little bit more. We like them. We feel like kids are making good connections. And so I worked with our counselors last spring because, like I mentioned, we started with our ICAP last spring, and then we knew we'd roll out SchooLinks fully this fall, so for this current school year. And so I met with them in the spring and in the summer and did some scope and sequence work with our counselors 6 through 12. And so got that work started. They continued on and shared back a scope and sequence that really maps out the experiences students can have starting in sixth grade. And so through that, we've worked in a lot of the inventories and some of the lesson materials, so that students early on can have those experiences in middle school and self-discovery, learning about themselves, thinking about where they want to go and what they want to do, pairing that up with understanding more and learning more about our opportunities within our district, so that as they go into high school, they're really already planning for courses that make sense for them and for their long-term goals. Of course, we know Middle schoolers can't make all the decisions about the future at that age, and they shouldn't. It's about exploring, and it's about learning, and it's about finding more about yourself so you can find out all the great things that are out there. And so to me, that's really important too. They know there's a range of opportunities, so they can try a bunch of things, and they can experience a lot of different courses and just find out their interests and their passions. And so we work at the middle school to kind of develop those pieces. And then when they're in the high school, they're continuing to do that work, but they're also really doing more work around career interests, and where those careers will lead them and what they need to be successful in those careers. So, of course, that could be college work, that could be trade school, that could be some post secondary certification, could be the military. And so we use a lot of the tools within SchooLinks for lessons at the homerooms in high school to help them further understand their next steps post high school.
That's great. And I know you and I have talked before kind of a little bit about efforts to make things more personalized through personalized learning.
Mm-hmm.
Has SchooLinks helped to contribute to kind of that effort of personalized learning and creating that holistic view of students and their learning profiles?
Absolutely. So, personalized learning has also been a big initiative in our district. For over a decade, we've been working on personalization. We've done some work in competency based learning, more at the elementary level and some at the middle level, and we're exploring more work at the high school level. But another key component of all that work has been implementing learner profiles. That's another thing that we had been working on really pre-pandemic, and then kind of stepped away from a little and got back into, but we were trying to find the right format and the right place for that. And what we learned is for 6 through 12, key pieces of that ICAP really include the pieces we wanted for a learner profile as well. So we were able to really utilize SchooLinks to also house that learner profile information. So students as early as 6th grade are starting to fill out some of the pieces of the learner profile. And then as they revisit that over the next few years, multiple times a year, they're building that out. And then those pieces become key components of their ICAP as well. So we found that it really sort of helps sort of marry the two initiatives. We want the college and career readiness work, but we also want a place where they're going to reflect on who they are as a learner, what their goals are, what their strengths are, to help teachers better understand them and for them to better understand themselves.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit more too? You mentioned just briefly about kind of like the competency based learning. What kind of things are you guys doing to try to drive that, whether it's in elementary, middle, or high school?
Right. So, for a number of years now, we started the work with really doing a lot of research and learning around personalized learning and competency based learning, and that took a number of years and just worked with that. We then developed committees and decided what areas and what initiatives we wanted to go forward with to really get personalized learning growing. One area was to write out competencies, and so we started first actually with our sort of our district level leadership group, and then in these committees creating competencies. What do we want our students to know and understand, and who do we want them to be as they're leaving 8th grade and becoming high school ready? We started at that point, but we built out these statements that really express where they should be at graduation as well. And we have that we started with math and ELA, later we added science and social studies, and then later we added them for our art, music, PE, other areas as well. And so after we fleshed those out, we got to the work of building out progressions. So we started working with teams of teachers and building out what does it look like to achieve these competencies in ELA in kindergarten, in 1st grade, and 2nd grade. And we looked at our Missouri learning standards, and we created student-friendly learning targets so that there was a clear understanding of what someone needed to know when they started and as they progressed through elementary school and then through middle school as well. And so we've been using those K-5 now for a number of years. We use them in some schools of choice at the middle school level. And like I said, we're looking at some programming at the high school to see some ways we can implement it there as well. So those are our areas of growth, but it's really changed the way we talk about grades and grading and shifted the conversations more around learning, which has been really exciting.
In what ways then has kind of the platform helped with that shift in the focus from like grades and points to helping students understand their learning and kind of their why?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't know. Aside from the learner profile is really the place where the students have probably done the most work around who they are and what it means to them in being a learner and what they want to achieve. Aside from that, the progressions work, the competency-based grading isn't probably something we've done as much in SchooLinks. We have some other resources that we use. to help track that as a system of not grading per se, but just a record of where students are.
Perfect. And last question here is just like thinking about the future. Like, what are your goals for kind of expanding then SchooLinks usage within the district and the broader community with like parents or industry partners?
Right. So, one thing that we started back when we really started using this, we got information out to parents right away. We pushed it out again in the fall, trying to get more parents to join. That's an area of growth for us. So while we have our students and they're in there and they're active. Especially, it's exciting right now to see our juniors and seniors who are really using it a lot as they're digging into scholarships and research and looking at that college application process. We don't see as many parents, so that's an area of growth that we're working on, and we're trying to work on some outreach and how we can better engage parents to get them to make those parent counts. Um, Another piece, we're already using it as a place to store information about some of our connections in the community. Our college and career counselor has put a lot of information in there about our college and career contacts, so that we have a great place to have a database of all our contacts there. We're exploring how we can do more with that to connect with community resources as well. I mentioned before we do extended learning opportunities. That's one big initiative for personalized learning at the high school level, where students can really help create their own learning experience, and we try to connect them with some overarching goals. What do they want to achieve? But it could be a means for them to do a deep dive into some complicated topic. It could be a partnership they want to create with a local university about a research project. It could be they want to connect with someone in a specific industry and get in there and do a project at a local business and really learn a lot about a specific industry. So these opportunities really vary and are dependent on what the student's passion and interests are. And so it creates a great opportunities for us to connect with the community. So we're doing that. We're looking at how we could utilize SchooLinks to better connect with our community partners as well. So that's really another area of growth we're exploring right now.
Perfect. Well, my last thing is just this is open for all Missouri districts to join and listen for this webinar. Is there anything you want to share with them, or your experience or ideas that you had since you've gone through this experience now for about a year and a half,
Mhm.
and what you've gone through that you might want to tell another district if they're just kind of getting started or still doing the paper pen ICAP?
Right. SchooLinks has been really great to work with. We've worked with a lot of great representatives, and they've been very helpful and very responsive to our needs. And as we've met some features that we that didn't quite meet our needs, we've actually had some support in seeing some things adjusted or changed to meet our needs better, which has been really exciting, and really makes SchooLinks a great partner. Aside from that, it's been a journey. It's a lot of thinking carefully about where you want to be and what you want to achieve, and then making sure that the tool fits your needs. And for us, that's been the case.